Welcome back to Black Voices, a listening party for those who are just joining us. I'm Fresh of the Breaks on KUTX 98.9. And on stage, I am joined by some distinguished individuals who will be having a conversation with me. To my right, we have the spoken word artist, Christopher Michael.
Hootie hoo, hootie hoo.
Yeah, clap it up for him, clap it up. This is a very distinguished individual. To my immediate left, we have Dougie Doo, the DJ, producer of the great Austin-based duo Magna Carda. And to my far left, we have the great Zeale. This man has been performing and touring all over the country for years now. So shouts out to Zeale, and that's Zeale. Oh, also one half of Blackillac.
Yes, one half of Blackillac. Yep.
So, I guess we'll dive right into this conversation. So for the past week, this past week, the city of Austin has had to face some, for lack of a better phrase, some hardships that it has been keeping up for decades on end, and it kind of all collided this past week with Jackie Vincent, the great Jackie Vincent, kind of dropping out and backing out of Blues on the Green and kind of calling out Blues on the Green. And
Bravo to her.
yeah, shouts out to Jackie. Shouts out to Jackie and calling
Shout
out
out Jackie,
Andy
shout out
Lange.
Jackie.
Yeah, y'all clap for Jackie. Clap for Jackie. Yeah. And it kind of has had the Austin music scene, more largely the city of Austin face some of these practices they have towards black people and people of color. So I guess I'll just open it up to the whole group, to the floor. How do y'all feel about the events of the past week?
You said hardships. As you were saying that, what I was hearing in my head is Austin is facing harsh realities.
Yeah.
That despite how nice, pretty, beautiful, artsy Austin is, Austin, and not necessarily the Austinites, the original Austonians, the people who really love being here and support and everything, but the people who are influxing into the community and pushing out the voices of color. I mean, there's room for everybody, but the voices of color are being pushed out and left in the cold. And it's ironic that voices of color get left out when historically the United States and the rest of the world gets their cues from art culture, particularly music, from the black community. So why aren't you trying to hear from us?
Or why aren't you trying to hear from us all the time and not just in one aspect or one space?
Right.
Yeah. I think as far as Jackie goes, I'm proud of her, and she's like my sister. That's the fan right there, her and Louie. But I think as far as her stepping down, it just shows that the old guard needs to leave. It's time for the new guard to come in. I know from Magna, in 2012, we couldn't book a show without a band, which is crazy. That's 8 years ago. Like, if you think about it, that's nothing. So it just shows that, Christopher Michael was saying, under all this, we got rocks and, streams and birds chirping, but there's just this veil under everything.
Just to piggyback on that, shout out to Jackie Vincent. She is amazing, also a good friend, and very brave, for her to turn down a gig for something she believed in a time when artists, whether you're black or not, really need to find income however you can, right? So the fact that she kind of carried that on her back in this current climate is amazing. And I think it really revealed some of the underlying truths that maybe we as artists and also people that are just citizens of Austin did not really want to face yet, which is that reality that, Austin has some racist bones it was built on. You know what I mean? There's been some really deep history, and I think it's surfacing, and I think somebody like Jackie stepping to the plate when she has that crossover type appeal and that audience to kind of sound off for all of us was awesome. So I applaud Jackie.
Definitely applaud Jackie. I was excited when I read the article, and me personally knowing Jackie and Louie when I saw it. Inside, I just screamed, "About time!" And
Yeah.
and I even tweeted, like, I've been asking this for years. Why is Blues on the Green set up like that? Like, why haven't more artists of color been featured on Blues on the Green? Because when you go to Blues on the Green, I mean, from my experience at least, nobody's really, from my experience, nobody's really there to hear the music. So
Right.
the whole thing that nobody has a draw doesn't really like matter, and especially since it's specifically an Austin-centric festival.
People
like,
are gonna go anyway.
Yeah,
Right.
So why not give one or two people an opportunity? We're not asking for anything for free or just
Right.
on the X Factor or some talent show trying to hit a note that they can't hit. We're talking about talented people who just need one opportunity to get in front of an audience. And what I can't understand is you, the promoter, are missing an opportunity to have somebody talented and be like, wait a minute, I can probably make some money off this cat now. Then gave him an opportunity. He's looking at me, she's looking at me like, hey, you hooked me up when the time was there. How can I take care of you? Why would you even miss out on those kind of dollars over some deep-seated stupidity you got growing on?
definitely money left. Definitely, me and my co-host Confucius Jones, we always say that as far as the Austin music community goes, there's definitely millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, left on the table when excluding black artists and other artists of color. Because like Christopher Michael said earlier, the world looks to black music for its cues, whether it's fashion, it's the lingo, music, what's funny, what's hot, what's not. You kind of look to us for that. And rap and R&B and quote unquote urban music, I hate the word urban, just putting that out there, I hate the word urban. But urban music is the #1 streaming genre in the world. Like, that's not just in Austin, that's not just in Texas, that's not just in the United States or in North America, the world. So why would you not want to push that, or why would you not want to get in on that, especially looking at how much money the city of Austin makes off music alone? When you look at how much money the city of Austin makes off of just South by Southwest, I think South by Southwest is like maybe third to UT football when money brought into the city. And ACL is like, if I remember correctly, 4th or 5th to UT football, because UT football is at the top. And UT football brings in billions of dollars, and then everything else falls underneath that. So those two music events alone bring in millions of dollars. So why wouldn't you want to jump on that and push more of what you have in the city as far as black and brown and other artists of color?
Yeah, I raised this same question to an organization called Black Fret. And anybody who doesn't know what Black Fret is, it's essentially a collection of people that I guess they're donors to a degree, but they're basically members of this organization that's supposed to support all Austin musicians, right?
Like the musical Illuminati.
Yeah, you could say that. But they have a lot of financial power, right? So they give, is it $10,000 or $20,000 grants to 10 artists every year?
I believe it's 20.
Is it 20 grand? So they pick 10 artists every year. They give them 20 grand. In order to qualify for that 20 grand, you have to be nominated. Then you have to perform at their events, which they give you, they pay you for those shows or whatnot. And essentially, you have to get these people to vote on you to be a winner, right? So you want to be in the top 10. And I think they've done it 5 or 6 years now, something like this. And the percentage of black artists that get nominated or win is hella low. It's hella low. And the thing about it is, when they first started this, I was in Los Angeles at the time on the road. I got a phone call from one of the founders, and he was like, listen, this is this thing we're creating. It's called Black Fret. This is how it's going to work. We want to help support artists, etc. So he gave me the whole spiel the same way I just described it to you. And he kind of told me straight up, he was like, listen, you are going to win one of these. We need more artists like you. We need diversity. We don't want to look like we just have white artists and we're supporting the status quo, right? So I did it. I went through the whole thing. Needless to say, at the end of it, I did not win one. Oddly enough, though, somebody who was part of Black Fret, like low-key,
awarded us money anyways. They were like, listen, you guys should have been in this, whatever. No big deal, right? Like as an artist, I don't want to be somebody who's like a bitter artist, like, oh, fuck, they didn't pick me. I was just like, all right, it is what it is, keep it moving. But I watched it over time, and it just continued to have that same pattern where there's just not a lot of black artists represented or getting funding there, and the sound is always homogenous. It's like 9 out of 10 winners is country or folk or bluegrass. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I working for KUTX, I definitely know what you
feel
mean.
me.
I definitely know what you mean. Working in that environment and having to be on air, I'm on Fridays at like, Friday late night, I'm like overnight, so I'm like 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. Trust me, it's not as fun as it sounds.
Right.
But like listening to, like looking at the scheduling, and you just go through the categories, and you're just looking at it like, kind of missing some music here. Like you go through the 80s, and you're like, it's no Michael Jackson, like it's no Janet, it's nobody, like it's like nobody that had a hit in the 80s
Right.
is not in here. You go through the 90s, and you're like, they got Tribe Called Quest for those that don't know, but like that's about it, and it's just Tribe, and then it's like a bulk of Tribe songs from the 90s, and then you're like, all right, everything else is alt rock, grunge, like you said, folk, country, and I don't have an issue with any of those genres, but it's just like you kind of are excluding music or historical parts of music history that existed, and you can't run away from it. And everybody likes this music. Like if you're talking about rap in the 90s, the golden era, the quote unquote golden era, like I know.
You don't have to do the quote unquote. It's the golden era.
It gets debated sometimes. I'm just saying it gets debated at times. I've been in those debates, but like you look at that and you just like, why is that excluded? Why is there not enough of that in the system? And
Do you think it's intentional?
No. I personally, no. I think KUTX is catering to, as Dougie said, an older audience. They're catering to more an older guard. And it is past time for that older guard to relinquish the reins of the stagecoach and let somebody else steer it. And the new guard is willing and ready. It's just that the old guard won't let go. So I think the rest of the city, like KUTX, is following suit and still catering to what the old ones, the old fogies, want to hear, and what they think still works.
Being on the edge of the old guard, I'm almost there. I'm not there yet. But being on the edge, representing the old guard, my retort to you is, once you have power, you don't let go of power. That's why the president and the folks in Congress are 70, 80, 90 years old. You don't let go of power. So you don't wait for somebody to let go of the reins. You have to take the reins. So that's what I'm saying to the young folks. Take it. I'm not going to take a step back. You need to take a step up.
I definitely hear that, and I definitely think now is a time where the younger generation is at the point to where we're tired of asking, and we are just going to just push you off the stagecoach and take those reins. And any thoughts towards that?
Well, it's weird, kind of, when you're going back to your Black Fret comment. When we did Black Fret, it was, I think, the only one time we played the Paramount Theater, and we cleared that bitch out in about 15 seconds. And everybody went to the lobby. They were like, "Oh, who's this band coming up?" And I want to say it was like, it was like an indie rock band right before us. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as we got up there, Megs is like, "The Root, no," and everybody walked out. I think it's just like these organizations, like they don't know what you're truly bringing into your organization. You know, Black Fret, Austin Music, like it's the same like kind of little like infection that all these organizations grow off.
It's the same institutions, whether it's a Black Fret or it's Blues on the Green or other organizations in Austin like that. They always overlook black music. And I guess it's specifically like for me and Dougie, we're talking about rap and hip hop, right? So me being part of Blackillac and other projects I had in the past, like we always had an uphill battle because people just didn't want to fuck with rap. They didn't want to book rap in the venues. Although they go home at night and listen to that shit. Who here doesn't listen to rap music? Everybody listens to rap music to some degree, right? There's varying levels of rap that you might listen to. Maybe it's old school shit, maybe it's new, maybe it's underground, whatever. But it is a respected genre, and as you said, it's the #1 fucking grossing genre in the world.
It
Period.
literally runs
Over
the
country
industry.
music, which
Like,
is
it
second.
keeps the music. It's what pays everybody else who is signed to a label.
Right.
It's the money that is driven in from rap music.
Right. And I have discussed this with some of the members at Black Fret repeatedly, multiple times. I've sent paragraphs of emails like, yo, like how do you claim to be an organization that supports the live music capital of the world, but the #1 genre in music you do not have a face for or support or provide funding to, you know? Facts.
Definitely have had those conversations. So, Christopher, Mike, I want to ask you, being a spoken word artist, what are some of the trials and tribulations you faced in that space?
Oh, people thinking what I do is free. that I didn't spend the last 2 entire decades honing my craft, that I don't get thousands of dollars to go to colleges to perform, or that I haven't published books, or that I don't have CDs available, not just in my car, but on all the streaming networks, or that even though I might be on stage for 5 minutes, it took me 7 days to write that poem. It took me another 7 days to memorize it and get it just to the right point. So you might be getting 5 minutes from me, but that was thousands of dollars worth of energy placed into that. So the biggest issue is failing to value what I bring to the table. The second issue is other people always doing it for free and not standing up and saying, damn it, I'm worth it. I'm not doing your show for free. I don't have to get rich off of it. At the bare minimum, you're gonna show me some appreciation. So I'm not just doing I'll do fundraisers, or I'll do school events to help folks out, but I'm not just walking up for free. You need to pay me to get out of bed in the morning, let alone get on your stage. And if not, don't pick up the phone and call me.
Yeah,
Facts.
clap. I think that's everything you just said, I've heard echoed throughout the Austin music community. It's specifically rap and R&B, is that a lot of artists, and maybe Zeale and Dougie can speak to it, a lot of artists say those that'll just get up on stage, they want to do it for free, they hurting me, because a venue will look at, well, I can go over here and get this guy, they'll do this guy, this girl, they'll do it for free, or they'll DJ for free, or they'll DJ for a lower price, and they cut into me, and then I can't get what I'm worth, and I can't conduct my business the way I need to conduct it. Or
I think the other cancer is pay to play.
that's definitely been a big problem.
Yeah, I gotta, and promoters will argue, you're not paying to get on the show, you're just selling these tickets and bringing your audience. No, you are the promoter. Your job is to fill the seats. My job is to validate why you filled those seats. And I'll be damned if I don't rock a crowd every single time and prove to your crowd why you brought those people in. So you get them in there, I'll make it worth your while. But I'm not rallying a bunch of people to come into your venue. That's your job.
I've definitely heard that. I've definitely heard that argument and been in that seat as someone who has put on shows, never had anybody sell tickets. Because as you said, it's my show. It's my show. I put the money up. It's my job to make sure that people come. And when you get there, you'll see why you're there. And it'll be validated why they're there, no matter who's on the show. You'll be pleased with what you see.
And I don't know if that happens with other organizations or with other cultures, but I only see it when it comes to doing some poetry stuff or doing some kind of hip hop show when it's some black artists who are trying to get on stage. Don't know if it happens to everybody else. I only see it that way.
I don't know if I've ever heard of a pay-for-play rock show.
Right.
I'm just like you said. That's just my experience.
Any pay-for-play country shows out there?
I've never heard of that. I've never heard of it. Like I've never heard of pay-for-play.
It's a weird thing because I I think Austin 360 had a convo on this the other day with Mobley and all them. It's someone asked, we need the bigger voices, black voices, to call out for the the voices that haven't made it or they still play like on the weekdays or whatnot. But it's weird because Austin's a weird place because you still have to play the game, but you also can't give up your spot. Right. Almost kind of like what you're saying. It's such a weird, like, they have to take it from you because you like, I can't balance both. So like, what do I, how do I go back and forth on it? Yeah. Is it weird, like in the spoken word world, is it more of like, do you feel like Austin's growing in terms of that kind of audience, or do you feel like over your years here, or do you?
Spoken word particularly fluctuates, but Austin. When I first started coming to Austin for poetry back in 2000 something, it was there was 10 people in the room. Then there was 50 people. Then a bad night, a slow night, was 150 people on a Tuesday. We were averaging 150 to 200 people coming in the door. But we were paying our poets. Every dime that came into the door, somehow or another made it back into the poets' pockets. We sent people on national tours. We sent people to national competitions. Didn't have to pay a dime out of pocket for anything. We had so much money that we were sending 2 teams to national and regional events. So we take care of our people.
That's real. I feel that. I've been, like I go slam poetry in like Houston and Dallas, and when I come here, it's like 2 people there, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, I was like, I don't know if there's an audience for it, but it's kind of almost connected to the hip hop R&B world, kind of like you were saying.
Yeah, come to Austin Poetry Slam, we rock it. It's packed in there.
And I want to ask Doug, because you said this in 2012, y'all couldn't get booked without having a live band, and I don't remember what year it was, but I remember it was recent though. Y'all did a documentary with KLRU, and I remember Megs basically saying that we started playing with a live band to get booked more and to appeal more to a broader audience because nobody was booking y'all. Basically, nobody was booking y'all before y'all did that. Do you feel like Austin kind of puts the pressure on artists to have a live band in order to be successful?
Austin's weird for that. Because sometimes when we get up there with a live band, we look stupid because everybody else has like DJs and whatnot. And when we have all 20 people come up on stage out of nowhere, I think for us at least, I think it's a little different now between 2012 and now. I think it's a tad different. Because we were trying to book at 512 Bar, and we could only get Wednesday night, and we could never go beyond Wednesday. They were like, you want to do Tuesday or Wednesday? As soon as we got a bassist, they were like, how's Thursday? You get a drummer? Cool, how's Friday? And we like, oh, you got a 5-piece? Put that boy on Saturday. So it was like, and then I think the only stigma is you kind of match up with rock bands and country bands. Like, the city doesn't care. Once you get a band, they try and box you into another completely different dimension that I wasn't even aware of that you could go down. Like you get up there and you're like, oh, we're about to rock it, and everybody's got cowboy hats on. And you're like, they're probably not gonna like the first words that come out of my mouth real quick. But I think it's just a weird, I don't know, it's weird. Like, what do you think, Zeale? Like,
I mean, I feel like being born and raised here in Austin, live music was always kind of built into my DNA, and my perception of how I would perform music would always be with some type of live instrumentation integrated. You know what I mean? Like, It's funny because the core and the essence of hip hop, you would say, is maybe a DJ and an MC, right?
Yeah, right.
But I think artists like The Roots, and others like that kind of took that concept and flipped it. So I feel just as a performer, I'd rather perform with a live band. You know what I mean? Yeah. Will it get me booked more? Maybe, but then I got to split that fucking money more.
Right? 20 ways.
So yeah, I mean, I feel like that should be up to the performer. I mean, before we created Blackillac as a solo artist, I always perform with some type of live instrumentation. And playing in Austin crowds, you quickly see that 90% of your crowd's gonna be white people. Case in point.
I mean, y'all spend money.
Right.
And that's for me growing up in Austin, it's dope to know that we can be welcomed by all types of audiences, right?
Right.
And one thing that I did as a solo and also as Blackillac is we don't, we're open to anybody. Anybody who fucks with our music, who vibes off of our music, we want to bring in and welcome, right? I know there's other artists in Austin, some recently who I won't say, have made certain statements like, well, why do you make music for white people? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? We live in Austin. Number one, that's kind of fucked up and it's a little racist. Like, number two, we live in Austin. Who do you want me to put barricades on the venues or on our art form to keep anybody out from it? As a creator, you want people, as many people, to come and embrace your music as possible. So, I remember seeing that remark and it kind of threw me off. But I don't think any artist has to make themselves appealing for a certain genre or market unless that's ultimately what you're going for, is just that success versus your artistry. If your artistry is put first, you decide if you want to play on stage with a fucking piccolo, a DJ, a full band, whatever. You know what I mean?
You do your art. Like, you do what you do, and whoever it appeals to, that's who's going to come,
Right.
period. I'm going to talk about Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey is a brilliant black woman who has killed the game. I'm not a personal fan of Oprah Winfrey because Oprah Winfrey doesn't appeal to me. She appeals to primarily white women, and there's nothing wrong with that. Those are the people who have heard her voice and like, yep, this is the business.
Right.
But that doesn't make her or what she does any less. She's a powerful voice on the planet, and she's talking to the people who she needs to talk to.
Yeah, and I ask that because I hear artists say that all the time when I encounter them, is that I can't get booked if I don't have a live band or if I don't play guitar. And I'm just like, well, I know plenty of other artists who it's just them and a DJ, and they do pretty well for themselves. Like
Right.
they get paid, they get booked, they perform outside of Austin and they perform all over Austin without having a guitar player or a 5-piece band. So I only ask that because if some artists feel like the city puts that pressure on them, or if they don't have a whole full band, that they won't be booked. But like Christopher Michael said, like, you do your art, and if whoever it appeals to. The Roots, like you said, kind of changed that. NERD kind of changed that. Like, it doesn't need to be this quote unquote traditional sound or MC and just a DJ for it to be considered hip hop. You playing with a 5-piece, 6-piece band doesn't make you less hip hop. It just makes you hip hop. Like, and if whoever rocks with it, rocks with it. The Breaks, we're on KUTX. Majority of our listeners are 1, 35 and up, 2, white, and 3 in jail. We got a large jail population. I don't understand jail.
Nice. Yeah, they need music too.
We have a large jail population. We get contacted all the time by people who get released, and they say, "Y'all got us through the hardest point of their life," and we just like glad we could get you through that.
That's dope.
But like, we don't try to cater to a specific crowd. We just get on air and we do what we do. And if you rocking with it, you rocking with it. If you don't like it, and
Right.
you just don't like it, don't listen. Like, you don't have to tune in on Saturday. It's Saturday. Go to 6th Street. Like, you don't have to listen to it. But we have an audience, and whoever is listening, that's who we playing the music for, and that's who we're talking to. So
And back to what you were saying earlier about your station, why miss the opportunity to gradually expose a whole audience to something new?
Right.
You ain't got to just suddenly, now it's nothing but old school hip hop. But sprinkle a little something in there. I mean, I was looking for some music to play while I was doing a broadcast, and Fantastic Negrito started playing. I'd never heard of him or that. I thought it was a genre of music. I was like, oh shoot, Fantastic Negrito, that's some dope ass music. But it turned out to be a person. But now I've been introduced to some new music and a new person that I'm in love with. You never know what you're gonna discover or what's gonna open something up for you. So let people be exposed to that and figure it out for themselves.
Right. So I guess to wrap it all up with everything going on throughout the country and the world right now with protests across the country and in 18 other countries outside the U.S., what do y'all all feel Austin, the city of Austin, can do better for its black citizens and its citizens of color?
I mean, as far as the music scene, I think, it's great white people are finally waking up and, like the white guilt is at an all-time high right now. But I think it's great that that's going on and, we're getting like, signs in the road and whatnot. But I think, I think kind of like, what Shaka was saying, like we need, musicians, non-black and brown to start fighting for, funds for diversity and funds for diverse education and go to different communities around Austin. So I think as far as that, and then I think, when you see bullshit, call it out. I think that's another thing in Austin. Like a lot of white people, that when it doesn't pertain to you, you're like, oh, that's cool with me. But it's time to start calling shit out. If something doesn't seem right, you don't have to go butt crazy on somebody, but you can also have a conversation with them. So I think I'd just like to see the town start to unite a little more and, explore different neighborhoods you've never been to.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I would like to see bad police officers be held accountable.
There we go. Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. Yeah.
When the protest started, when the protests were happening and things started getting violent in other areas of the country, I was here, the first thing I thought was, oh, it's not gonna be like that in Austin. So, this is Austin. It's gonna be a little more chill. It's not gonna be crazy. And then I started seeing posts and reading, content and material about people getting shot in the face with rubber bullets and people getting shot in the head and going to hospital and being on life support, et cetera. And that was disheartening as fuck, man. I was like, this is happening here. I sent it to a few of my friends who live in Los Angeles that are from Austin, and they were the same thing. They were just mortified and like astonished, like, how is this happening in Austin? And I guess we thought we were immune to it. Even as black creatives and black people in the community, we thought we were immune to it, though we've all seen and experienced racism in different degrees in our own lives and personal accounts. I'm sure everybody on stage has. Mm-hmm. I think it was kind of a wake-up call, seeing some of the things that happen just here locally. I love seeing all of the organizations and leadership that's being brought up, like the Austin Justice Coalition and other amazing organizations like that. And I do like that Austin's starting to put its money behind, the cause. As Blackillac, we did a fundraiser the other day for a charity that we wanted to donate to support kind of the black cause. And our homie who owns a pizza shop was like, yo, you guys do that over here, do a live stream here, whatever money we make profiting from selling pizzas today, we'll donate with you, right? And this is a white business owner. And I was like, yo, that's dope. Like, this dude is really putting, his money where his mouth is, and he's supporting a cause. And we ended up raising like $5,000, and it was dope, right? I just want to see more action. I want to see accountability. I want to see more action. And one thing that did happen that I've never been part of, and you were on this the other day as well, there was a Zoom call, and I can't tell you too much because it's secret as fuck and the black mafia will come get my ass. There was a Zoom call that basically had every black artist I've ever known or encountered or kicked it with on the call. It was a lot of people. Everybody was on this call, and it was led by Mobley and led by Shaka, and everybody got to kind of speak their thoughts, their minds, their hearts. And we all decided collectively to do something more strategic. We're figuring out what the plan's going to be and how we're going to execute that. But all of these black artists are now aligned, and we all have a common goal. And I can't wait to see what comes out of it. But the one takeaway I took from that call was we're not just going to jump and do something immediately. We're not just going to throw a show or promote an event, et cetera. We want to have something very strategic that's long-term and will leave a lasting effect for black artists in the future. So
Beautiful.
That's it.
So to the Austin promoters who are either in the room or eventually going to see this, we do not want to come and eat your pie. We want to come and make a pie with you so we can in turn sell that pie so we can buy our own pies and then eat them. We don't want to take your money. We want to help make more money. So we don't want the free stuff. Put us on the spot, on the stage, and we will be profitable, period. To my white friends in the audience and the people I don't know, the ones who wear the moniker ally or want to wear the moniker ally, what we don't need is you speaking for us when there's an opportunity for us to speak or speaking over us or explaining what we meant. What we need is when you are in places that we can't get into, some boardroom, a golf course, your dinner table, where there's none of us there to defend our point, that is the moment that we need you to be an ally. Stand up for us and let the people that you are talking to know that's stupid, that's the wrong idea, you're racist, you should change, your point of view is based on some bad information. So ally for us when we can't be there.
Very very well said from everybody. Mine is a little mixture of all three. As far as the music community go, I would love venues and promoters to just give artists a chance. Like, just give black promoters can't do it all. And I had an entire argument on Twitter with somebody who had no picture, don't know who he was, but he made the whole point
Russian?
that, yeah, he probably was a Russian bot, but I had time that day. But he made this whole point that Austin doesn't have successful black artists outside of Gary Clark Jr. and the Black Pumas, and I proceeded to educate him on other black artists, and he still proceeded to tell me that we needed to just stay in East Austin and just do our music over there. And he didn't think he was racist for that when I had to explain to him.
Yes, racist for sure.
That's racist, bro. You telling us to stay on one side of town and just do what we do there at Victory Grill. And no, that's not enough. Like Mr. Christopher Michael said, I don't need you to speak for me, and I don't need you to speak for us. We only need that when we are not there and we can't have a voice there, or we are not allowed to have a voice there, or one of us has not yet infiltrated that space, or one of us that doesn't have the balls enough hasn't infiltrated that space. Because some of us are in those spaces and just won't say anything, and they'll keep the status quo going, and then that also holds us back. I just want Austin to put its money where its mouth is and live by the words that they say they are. Everybody touts that Austin is the most progressive city within the state of Texas. Show that. I always like to say that really doesn't mean anything to me except we like dogs in restaurants, because that's what I see, and that's all I hear from people who come from other places or go to UT and just decide to stay here, is that they don't know where the black people are. There is no black community. I just see people getting pushed out, and people take dogs in bars. So we have to be much more than a city that likes dogs in bars and live up to that moniker of being the most progressive city in a red state.
Yep.
So yeah. Thanks, Xavier. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say one thing. We were supposed to have 2 black female artists up here as well to speak.
Yes.
Obviously, it's all males up here. We just want you to know they could not be here because of, they chose not to because of COVID-19, and they're just trying to keep their distance and stay safe. But we, as black men, we do value our black women, and they probably face some harder shit than we face.
Most
absolutely.
definitely.
So, just wanted to let that be known.
Shout out Mex Kelly.
Yeah, shout out Meg, shout out Tori. We are definitely not trying to uphold the patriarchy. So thank y'all. The show is not over yet. We will be right back, and the live performances will begin. So yeah. Remember, tip your bartender.